Alright, so in my day, I've been on probably more than a few dates. Like, I've been on a lot of dates. And I'm gonna start this by saying, like, I don't claim to be some giant pussy slayer or something. Like, I really don't mean to be one of those kids that, like, acts like, you know, he has so many holes in his life, like more than a block of Swiss cheese or something. Like, we all know a kid that gets so much pussy, or he at least says he does, that, you know, his dick would fall off if he was telling the truth. So I'm not going for that. I'm not this huge slayer, but I've been on a few dates, and so today I'm going to be talking about my worst one. But before I get into that, I just want to say, can we aim for like 150 likes? If we could hit that, that would be absolutely amazing. So do smack that like button and leave a comment, as I just love going through and reading each and every one of your comments, and I promise I do. No matter how many there are, it's my favorite thing to do. So I'm gonna start off this story by saying this is going to be a total cringe fest, right? And I kind of forgot about this date. Like, this was a date I try not to think about. And even when I told my friends about it, like, they gave me so much shit for this because it's just a giant cringe fest. So anyway, we'll call the girl in this story Aubrey. We'll go with Aubrey. So Aubrey was a girl at my high school, right? I'm gonna be honest, was probably out of my league, right? So I was just kind of hoping and banking on the fact that, you know, my personality would push me over the edge with this girl. Sadly, I was wrong. I had like tried to talk to this girl, and she would most of the time talk to me back and everything. And I was just like super persistent, you know, even when she would send like one word messages or really give me the I'm not interested type aroma in the messages, I would still just be persistent. Like, I was an ass zit. And you know, like those ones where you pick them and then they come right back, and then you pick them again and they just keep coming back? That was me with this girl. And you know what? It ended up working because I finally got her to go out on a date with me, right? So once she said yes to going out on a date, this was the second time I had asked. The first time she gave me an excuse, right? She was like, oh, I have something to do or something like that. And so the second time I asked, she was finally like, yes. And even though I could tell she wasn't super interested, but I really liked the girl and all, and I was just gonna be persistent and see what happened. So anyway, we get down to planning it and what we were gonna do, and she's like, okay, well, what time do you want to pick me up? And I'm like, I actually can't pick you up. I don't have a car. And so she's like, oh, so I have to pick you up, right? Like, this girl who's already disinterested, not really into this date, has to come pick me up. And I was like, yeah, how about like 6? And she was like, okay, fine, yeah, I'll pick you up. And so I obviously gave her my address and everything. So once she picked me up, I told her like, okay, why don't we go to this buffet place? It was like this place where you could get, it was like this soup bar and like pizza and all that sort of stuff. And it had like ice cream and everything. And so we went there, you know, we got some food, you know, kind of just went through the buffet. I didn't eat as much as I usually do because, I don't know, I mean, I was trying to not look like a fat ass in front of this girl, right? Like, I'm not gonna be chowing down on ice cream and like 8 pizzas, because when I go to this like particular buffet, like I'm eating like 8 pizzas, like literally, I'm getting my money's worth. Anyway, so the check comes, right? And I reach for my pocket, and yep, my wallet was not there. I forgot to bring my wallet. So I'm like, oh shit, I forgot my wallet. And she's like, oh really? And I'm just like, yeah. And at this point, like, the date's not going super well. Like, we got in a few interesting conversations, but not really. And she wasn't like super into it. Like, you can tell when a girl's into it and she's enjoying herself, and she wasn't giving off that vibe. And so she pulls out her wallet, puts her card on the table, and then the lady comes back around, and so she ended up paying for it, which I just felt so terrible. And I just know there's probably gonna be some feminazis that's like, oh, what's wrong with a girl paying? Like, I don't know. It's just like, for me, the guy pays. Like, that's how it goes. So after this, we went to this like river type thing. I've mentioned this like twice before in videos. I know I have, maybe even more than that. And we went there to kind of go for a walk. Like, when you go on a date, that's just like the hot place to go in my town. It's just this little river type place where you walk along it. You know, it's made for walking and everything like that. So we get there and we start walking, and we actually started to get into some good conversation. And I want to say about 30 minutes later, 45 minutes, something like that, the conversation got pretty bland. Like, it wasn't good or lively anymore. And we kind of just sat on a bench, and I got a phone call, right? So my brother calls me, and he's like, dude, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, yo, what's up? And he's like, no, like, I like, we need to talk. Like, can I come get you? And I'm like, I'm not home right now. And he's like, well, I'm just driving around right now, so I can come pick you up. And I'm like, is it emergency? And he's like, yeah, it kind of is. And so I get off the phone, and, you know, I text him where I'm at and everything. I give him the details, and he knew exactly where I was at. And I told the girl, I'm like, I just got a family emergency, and I kind of need to take care of it. And she's like, yeah, no, I understand. And so we stand up, right? And I go in for a hug, and she's like, no, I'm all right. And I'm just sitting there like, oh God, that was so terrible, right? Because, like, I just went in for a hug, and I didn't even, like, she didn't even want to hug me. And so I thought the date was going kind of bad, but not that bad, right? And so apparently to her, you know, it was going terrible. So my brother finally got there, and we kind of just, like, awkwardly stood there for about, you know, 5 or 10 minutes when it, you know, however long it took my brother to get there, because I didn't anticipate, you know, this hug. You know, I went for it too soon, right? Because I forgot that I had to wait for my brother. That was really embarrassing. Like, it was just terrible. It was like the cringiest, most awkward thing imaginable. It was just terrible. So my brother finally ended up getting there, and I got in the car, and I'm like, dude, that really couldn't wait. Like, I was in the middle of a date. He's like, oh, seriously? Like, I'm sorry, dude. And I'm like, yeah, no, what's up? And apparently he was fighting with his girlfriend, and she kicked him out of the apartment for the night. That was it. He ended up even going back to the apartment that night. Like, they made up and everything. And I guess it was kind of a good thing he pulled me out of that. I don't know. But I never even messaged that girl back. Like, I figured, you know, if that went well enough, she was going to message me back. And I was just, like, way too embarrassed after the hug thing to even message her back. But yeah. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this story, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more, and leave a comment in the comment section below. I will see you tomorrow. You are perfect, and I love you. Peace.